Welcome back, Alchemist. This is the 52 Weeks to Wealth, Wealth Principle 49. Seek to understand, then to be understood. If you've been with us on this journey, then you know we're here to double our income and double our net worth. Hands to the camera if that's true for you as well. You want to keep stacking up cash. Many people have judged us for being so focused on money. Hands to the camera if you know a lot of the world is like, oh, money's evil. Who's heard that before from other people? Money is evil. Yes, you shouldn't want money. You shouldn't work so hard for money. I've been told that I work very hard, but that's because people don't actually know how my day actually looks. Hands to the camera if you understand. I don't actually work hard for money. I work hard to change people's lives. And it's a different scenario. The part that makes us the money is actually pretty easy. That part's very passive and it continues to roll out. And as a nation, we're working towards automating the millionaire building process. Hence, if it's okay if we automated building millionaires. Wouldn't that be cool? That is one of our major, it's our main focus, to build 100 millionaires who are inspired to build 100 millionaires is just the beginning. If you want to become wealthy, the easiest way to become wealthy is to help others get there too. It's really hard to become rich if you serve people who don't have money. Hence, if you've ever met somebody who didn't have money and tried to sell them something, you didn't get anything money related out of that transaction. But if you serve people who are seeking money and money is flowing to them and you kind of help money get into the way, that's where arbitrage is made. That's where you're able to make a little bit off of the top of everything somebody else does. Who here knows that's how employers make their money, right? They send you out there to go and do some work, and they make a little bit off the top of everything that you do. Hence, if that's okay if you don't have money, right? You need money at some point. And Dorina, Ron, can we make sure that the mics are muted on anybody who's coming in right now or not familiar with how this process goes? If you are new to Alchemist Nation, you can go to alchemistnation.com for free and gain access to over 65 courses. These are courses that were built by millionaires. Who here would like to learn from a millionaire instead of somebody who's broke just coming up with shit? I agree. And in fact, that is part of the millionaire process. Everybody that we put on our platforms to teach and train has to have built $1 million. And furthermore, they must hold on to it, because there's a lot of millionaires out there who just did it once and then lost it. Hence, Karen, if you know, that's not a strategy you want to learn. Exactly. We want to learn from people who not only make the money, but get to keep the money. Don't take advice from a fat person on how to lose weight. True or true? It doesn't make sense, right? You take advice from somebody who's in shape and ask them how they got to that shape. Well, it's the same thing with money. You look for people who have money, and then you ask them, how did you get the money that you have? And if you want to have passive income, hands to camera if you want passive income, well, then you look for people who have assets, passive income assets like real estate, dividends, companies, businesses, things that are paying them in their sleep. Who here knows the secret to massive wealth is income in their sleep? You must be earning while you're not taking action. Excellent. The majority of the population was trained on something called work. And if maybe you work long enough, you might be able to retire. There's this 65-year plan in society. And I think my dad's starting to believe it's a 72-year-old plan, because Social Security's running thin, inflation is getting high, and for whatever reason, they never went back and they increased the amount of income you're making as inflation continues to eat away at your dollars. Who here knows inflation is like 7% right now, or at least that's what they're reporting. It feels like it's a little bit more. If you go and look at the prices of real estate, if you look at the prices of milk at the store, the eggs, I bought a dozen eggs the other day. I think it was like $4, which, whatever, no big deal. But it's still an extreme amount compared to what it used to be. Hence, if you've seen it in gas, you've seen it in other commodities, other things that are out there. Absolutely. So how do we do this? How do we build wealth? We focus on one principle per week. And on this journey, it starts with wealth principle 1, which is think $1 million. Wealth principle 2, choose a business that can make $1 million. Who knows, most people don't even consider how much their business can make. And not in this community, but outside this community, they don't even consider how much they could ever make from their business. They sign up for a job that pays 60, 70, 80,000 a year. And they're like, this is great. I've made it. Well, what happens next year? And next year, you're going to go for those 2% increases when inflation is going up 7, 8%. You're losing money every single year that you lock in your income. So this wealth principle was designed for negotiations. If you've been traveling with us and you understand that part of money is communication with other people. Who here has recognized that all the money you want is in the hands of other people right now? right? You can't make your own. Don't worry, the government covered you though. They created another $3 trillion. They doubled the money supply in over the period of COVID. So if you were concerned about money, because I think what happened was everybody was saying, I need to make more money, I need to make more money. And the government was like, here's a button. They pushed the button and now there's more money in the system. Now, what's interesting is they didn't actually make it this money. What they did was they sent you a check. So digital money, who's heard of cryptocurrency? Heard of crypto? And they're like, okay, the government wants to, take over crypto. The government has been producing crypto for years and years and years in your accounts, in your bank accounts. Who here goes to the bank and you try to pull out money? Has anybody tried to pull out more than $10,000, $20,000? You can't get your money out because they don't actually have physical money at the bank. Let that sit with you for a moment. They don't actually have physical money at the bank. What they have is digital currency that they slide into your account, slide into the next account. Who is okay with that system, right? You've been using it, right? Didn't even know about it. Didn't even consider the fact that things weren't printed out. Seek to understand, then to be understood is a principle about getting the money from who actually has it. Who here actually does know people have money in their bank accounts that they can withdraw if you decide to, well, it'd be via check. It'd be via a check now because most people are, or a deposit, or the acquisition of a piece of real estate. In fact, another form of money sitting in an asset is equity. Who here is familiar with the word equity? So again, we're not selling anything because I don't believe courses make people successful. What we have in the past is built networks and opportunities for people. That's where all the money is. So as we're going through this process of Wealth Principle 49, I want you to just keep in mind that if you are not rich to this point, it's because you haven't had the right conversations with the right people. And you may want to just write that down. If you have not gotten to the extent of happiness or wealth that you'd like, you have not made enough of the right conversations with the right people. In this principle, I'm going to show you how to communicate with people. Now, your choice is whether you're going to change the broke people around you and shift over to dealing and serving and working with higher net worth individuals. That was a principle we talked about previously in the year. If you haven't gone through that principle, go back and review the 52 wealth principles. Wealth principle 49 is seek to understand, then to be understood. This was first popularized by Stephen Covey. He wrote the books 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Hands if you've read that book. It is one of the 52 books in our process, but don't worry, it isn't until another 3 weeks. It is the last book of the year. There are 4 failures of communication, 4 common failures. This is where most people make their mistakes every single day in conversation. Hands to the camera if you know you are one of those people, even without reviewing these failures in communication. If you have ever walked away from a situation without money, is a good chance you made one of these mistakes. If you've ever had a conversation with somebody and you felt frustrated, they felt frustrated at the end of the conversation, is a good chance that you made one of these common communication failures. Who is committed to learning how to communicate properly and changing your life and changing your finances today? We'll do it today. Excellent. Failure number 1, evaluating a person or situation before listening. When you're evaluating, you are judging, and then you're either agreeing or disagreeing. This is a win or lose scenario. We do not evaluate conversations. Going forward, I want you to shift. When you're looking into a conversation, I want you to be more curious. And I'll talk about why that's so important in a little bit. But for the beginning of this, I want you to understand, if you are losing in conversations, it's because you have a win-lose scenario getting into it. Hence, if you've ever done that before, you went into a conversation and you're like, well, we'll see if this works the way I want it to go. And it didn't, and you just ended the conversation or said something silly. Number 2, probing. Probing is another failure in communication. You ask questions from your own frame of reference without understanding where you're going. You're just looking to see, is this person important to me? Are they going to agree with me or not? And then you just fail the conversation by pointing and saying in your direction what you want or how you believe their situation or understanding is. Hence, if you understand, we will not probe going forward. We will stop probing. The next one is advising. And if you've ever been in a committed relationship, especially men, you know exactly what this looks like, or I guess the woman would know what this looks like. You give counsel, advice, and solutions to problems. Who here has said in the past, you are a problem solver? Who said this? This is entrepreneurial. We do this all the time. Oh, I'm a problem solver. Don't be a problem solver too soon. The challenge with these failures is this is the first form of communication. If you're using these as the first form of communication, you are going to fail the conversation, and not just fail yourself and what you could get out of it, but fail the person in front of you. Number 4, interpreting. So when you are communicating with a person, if you're analyzing the other's motives and behaviors based on your own internal experiences, the only result you could ever get is a failure to communicate, because it's absolutely impossible to understand the other person when you're focused on just what you have already in your head. And it's scary if you understand why these are failures. They're very obvious. Each one of them is like, oh yeah, I do that. How about changing the communication strategy? Who would like to change and communicate to understand instead of just pounding into people and saying, well, it didn't work out, didn't work out, didn't work out, no worries. That rich person doesn't like me. Or that rich person has a thing against working with people who have no experience. Let's shift into the first one, intent. So the intent for understanding is to listen for understanding. So how do we do that? We let the other person talk without our monkey brain running. Who just had a conversation but already knew what you were going to say? Has anybody like heard somebody talking and you were already planned out what you were going to say? Shut it down, right? When you're going into the conversation, start with a blank mind. You have to have the intent to understand. That must be your mental decision going into a conversation with a human being, is to understand where they're coming from. That doesn't mean you're giving up on your beliefs or giving up on what you want to create or your desires. What you're doing first is acknowledging the value of the next human being in front of you. Who understands that other people are valuable, they're important. True or true? Excellent. So first intent in a conversation is a 4-step process. First intent in a conversation is listen to understand. That intention has a skill set that goes with it. Understanding has a skill set that goes with it, which is reflect feelings in words. Now, when I say reflect feelings in words, what I'm talking about is be a mirror. Who's heard of mirroring? If you've ever studied NLP or psychology with other people, you want it to be genuine and real. So one of the best ways to reflect and mirror is use their own words back to them. If somebody says, I feel like the price isn't right, you might want to reflect back and say, I can understand how you might feel that the price isn't right. Isn't what you're looking to get. We understand that was reflecting. That was a reflection of what they were saying. Too many people want to skip ahead and disagree or probe or evaluate. But when you just listen and say, I agree that you feel this way. I can see how you would feel that the price isn't correct where you'd like it to be. Reflecting with their words is valuable. Another form of mirroring would be slowing your voice down if they're speaking slowly, or speeding your voice up if they're speaking intensely. If they're really intense, you may also have to become intense. Who here finds themselves to be more of a laid back, relaxed person, doesn't really want to get intense in situations? This may be work for you, right? This may be a challenge. This could be what's stopping you from being successful. When a person is frustrated and intense and they're operating like this, and you're sitting back like this, being like, you're upset for no reason, you're frustrated for no reason, we can understand the gap would widen. True or true, right? It just becomes harder to pay attention to that person. It feels like they're not taking us seriously. And at the same time, if a person is relaxed and they're telling you, well, I'm not sure if I want to sell my house right now. I got, my kids and I got my family and I got some things that I've been thinking about that I'm not too certain whether this scenario would be good for me or good for them. Who here has ever just gone in and been like, but when you sell it to me, you're going to save this much money. We're going to move you out of this and we're going to shift you over here and it's going to totally work. To them, they're feeling you're not listening also. They're feeling that you just have an agenda, that you just want to go and get their property from them, or that you want their money from them. Hence the if you've ever made one of these fatal flaws or felt somebody else do it with you. And they weren't vibing. So reflect feelings and words. This is skill number 1 for intention number 1, understanding. Who would like to be understood? Who would like somebody else to do what they want them to do? That's a part of this principle. Well, 49 is I'm not going to call it manipulation. Persuasion might be a little closer, but the idea is a little bit of both, right? It is move them towards an ideal that you both agree on. So when I teach these like more psychology things, these sales components, I want to emphasize we do all of our deals morally, ethically, legally. True or true? Everything we do must be in the benefit of the people in front of us. So if you are persuading and manipulating a person, you must do so morally, ethically, and legally. Now, manipulation is bad and persuasion is good. I had a hard time understanding what the difference of that was. And the only way to know that you're not manipulating, to know for sure that you are persuading, is to first understand their scenario. Who here knows it's a fine line? If I teach you tactics that could move a person forward, it's very important that you understand that fine line and follow the rules so that you don't end up hurting somebody in their life at any level. So the other skill set is being understood. This is when people want to do the things that you are suggesting. So who would like to learn some influence today? Wealth Principle 49 is all about influence. It is all about getting other people to do what you want. Hence, Karen, if you're down to learn some influence. And if you're afraid of influence, log off, right? This is going to get a little dangerous. Number one, the intention must be to be understood. That must be the intention, which is a patient attention. It is not an aggressive attention. It is a clear, calm, patient, accepting, faithful attention. The idea is that you know for certain at the end of this conversation, you will be understood because you were already willing to understand. The skill set behind it is to state your point of view using I messages. I feel, I want, I desire, I am. Those statements allow a person to recognize where you stand, especially after being understood. When you've taken the time to listen to another human, they're willing to listen to you. Hence, if you understand, it's called the law of reciprocity. If you want to be understood, you must first understand their scenario, clearly communicate that you understand the scenario, and then it becomes very easy. In fact, many times they'll ask you, well, what do you want? What are you looking for? Who's seen that happen to them before? You just suddenly the tables turn. They're like, well, what are you getting out of this? What are you looking for? How can I help you? How can I get more? And that is where it's very important to be able to clearly state your goal in a manner that is enticing to them as well, right? So look for their goals, look for what they're seeking. Who's heard of the value equation before? Has anybody heard of the value equation? It was popularized by Alex Hormozi in the book, $100 Million Offers. And in that book, he talks about 4 components to a value. The first being that desire that they want, that big thing that they want to have. Who here knows your desire? Does anybody know what their desiring is right now? You can drop it in the chat. What is your big goal for 2023? What do you want to accomplish for yourself in 2023? Drop that in the chat. And if you're afraid to share your goals with other people, then there's a good chance that your goals are not coming to you because you don't even believe them enough to share them with others. Or you feel bad about them or feel guilty about them. We want to eliminate all those feelings of negativity around your goals in order to accomplish your goals. So drop your goal in the chat, whatever you want to accomplish. Many people want passive income. Many people want $10,000 passive income, legacy wealth, or they want net worth. They want to have a fortress of financial freedom around themselves, never have to work again. Many people, their goal is to just quit their job. And then as you get past the financial burdens, you get past some of this money stuff, you start thinking about impact and significance and helping others and changing the planet and changing the world and helping people, have clean water. There's things that you start doing beyond the money challenge. Who here is still a little bit focused on money and will definitely save the world once you got yours? Anybody on here? You're going to do some big impact? Absolutely. It's kind of like you got to put the mask on in the airplane. If those little things ever drop, you got to put it on your face before you can go and help other people put it on their faces, right? Because that 2-year-old kid on the side, he was probably not going to figure this thing out. There's, what's going to happen is you're both going to die if you don't take care of yourself first. Who here has made a commitment to improve their lives so they can improve others' lives? Excellent. That is what the mission of 100 Millionaires is. Once you get yours, just dedicate some time to go and teach others and share how you got your wealth with the community around you, the people who are willing to listen. Now, not everybody's willing to listen. I know this for certain because I spend some time on TikTok. I put out a lot of trainings on how to build wealth, and I've noticed that the world is mostly full of haters. There's a lot of people, a lot of trolls out there who are just like, oh, no, this guy's lying. It's impossible to get rich. And there's really not much you can do with somebody who's got blinders on, right? It's like they don't see the financial freedom. It's like they don't see the trips and the traveling and the fact that I haven't had to work in years and years and years. They see what they want to see. They see that you must be faking your positivity. Oh, there's no way somebody's that positive all the time. They must be faking it. They see that you're putting all this work into your business, and they're like, well, their business must not be successful. That's why they're putting so much work in. The business must suck. That's why they're working so hard. Hence the care. If you know your friends, when they see you grinding, they're like, oh my God, if they're grinding that hard, it must not be working. Right? There's no what, like the ideal job for the average person is to not have to work as little as possible. If they can get in there and the boss never checks up on them and they don't have to do any work, like that's winning for them. But for us as entrepreneurs, we know we got to put in some serious hard work in the beginning to build our assets so that at the end, we don't have to do anything because the assets are built. Part of the wealth principles is teaching you one step per week. In fact, every week we do a exercise, don't we? And that exercise we apply into the business of our choosing, whatever we're working on right now. And that is how we double our net worth. It's how we double our income. So hence the camera, if you are ready to do an exercise for understanding. Excellent. So pull out a pen and paper. And what the easiest way to do this exercise is to choose a person who actually has some value in your life. It could be your spouse, a great person to practice on, your children, or a business partner, or it could be a client. The higher net worth the client, the better the return on investment will be. Here's what I'll tell you. It's impossible to fail this exercise because up to this point, you have already failed at some level. So first, I want you to write down the name of the person. Everybody's got a person in their head right now. Hence, if you got a person in your head that you imagined, write down the name of the person on your piece of paper. Step one is you're going to contact them and get them on the phone. Step one is either you're going to get them in person or on the phone. You're going to get, belly to belly or ear to ear or Zoom to Zoom and have a conversation with them. And the first thing you're going to ask in that conversation is, what is your goal for this year? What would you like to accomplish for this year? For some of you may shorten the goal. What do you want to accomplish this tonight? What do you want to accomplish this weekend? What would you like to accomplish this week? And if you understand, the instructions are just to understand. It is just a practice. It's just an exercise. So the next step is you're going to repeat back whatever they say in a cool manner. I don't want you to repeat back like a parrot. That's fucking annoying. People don't like it when it's obviously you just mirroring them. Hence, if you understand, you got to be smooth about it, right? A little charismatic about it. You can change some of the words. Don't change all the words. Use a key word that was important to them. So step one, we're going to show the intention of understanding this. Like we're going to ask a question that allows us to get some data, some information about what the next year looks like or what the next month looks like, or in the case of me and Darina, our date tonight, what that might look like. And then the next step is to persuade. It is to be understood. It is then to have the intention of saying, well, if we go to sushi, I was also thinking I would like to go for, I'd like to hit the gym. I didn't get to hit the gym this morning, so I'd like to hit the gym before going out tonight. Hence, Karen, if it's okay if that's my intention. I decided my intention, and now I'm able to communicate it to her. She now has the decision. Does she want to go to the gym with me or not? As long as I'm getting to the gym, I'm serving what I'm looking for. Does that make sense? This is not a negotiation. It's non-negotiable. I am going to the gym today, but I now have something else that I know she wants to accomplish. And I'm able to add that and line that up into my goals. Who here can win all negotiations with this strategy? Speaking to a motivated seller, speaking to a passive investor, somebody who's like potentially looking to invest in your company, speaking to a person who is an investor that you could be putting your money into their deal. Wouldn't it be nice to understand what they do about their deal first before you say, hey, this is the return on investment I'm looking to get? If you just go in and say, hey, I want to get a 100% return on investment in the next year, well, are they even the right vehicle to do that? If they say yes and you haven't qualified, that's on you if you lost your money. That's if you understand. It is your responsibility to understand before letting people know what your targets are, before letting people know where you're looking to go.